Hello and welcome to Worth the War. My name is Kimmy. The purpose of Worth the War is preparing people for healthy love and relationship, really rethinking love and relationship, and helping to spare hearts by preventing abuse. If you think that we can do a better job with love than we're doing today, you have found the exact right channel. And I really hope that you will press the subscribe button and join us in this community or the other 4 or 5 communities that we have growing on other platforms that I have listed below. Today, I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Michal, and Michal has a site on Instagram called Ask Michal. And I found her as we were kind of going through learning about different relationships and parenting sites. One of the emphases that I have here at Worth the War has been pornography. And I am fully aware that when I bring up that word, everybody steps up, they get a little bit uncomfortable, and they're thinking, wow, I'm not so sure that I want to look into this. But I really encourage you and anyone that has people that have kids that in the preteen to teen ages to kind of jump over that stigma so that we can really pull together and learn something about how pornography is affecting our children in a wide scale. There will also be down below an article that Michal sent me that is from the New York Times, which is a wonderful article about if we aren't including the education on pornography, we aren't doing sex ed. So we need to really back up, get ourselves a little bit over the uncomfortableness and realize that this could be something that spares your children or the children of those that you know or the generations that follow us. So Michal, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you. Please let everybody know where they can find you other than the links below, if there's anything that you'd like for them to know about you and your work.
Thank you, Kimmy, so much for having me. I think this is such an important topic and I'm always happy to talk about it. So thank you for bringing me to your show. And, everyone who wants to learn more about what I offer and my beliefs and values and how I can help parents, they can also check my website, which is www.askmichal.com. And I think we can also link that probably to the link tree, and so those two are the best ways to find me.
Excellent. So remember to check her materials out because she's extraordinarily informed on this subject and has a real heart for making sure that we can do better than we've done in the past when it comes to preparing our kids on how to handle pornography and the risks that it carries. So the topic of our video is going to be what every parent should know about pornography. So I would just love to freeform for you to share with us what you think that is.
I think that, I'm also a parent and I also have teenagers. And I think that many times when we think about pornography, we think about the pornography that maybe we got exposed to when we were young. And I think that what we need to understand today, that the reality of free pornography that's available today is completely different than what was available when we were teenagers. I have a smartphone. My boys, they also have a smartphone. And I think most teenagers, if not everyone, has a smartphone. The thing is that porn today is just more accessible to everyone in ways that it was not accessible when we were teenagers. Maybe when we were teenagers, maybe we didn't watch pornography, or maybe it was only one time and that's it. The thing is that for teenagers today, it's more accessible and they have higher chances to watch it. It's really hard to monitor or filter pornography online, the accessibility, and, they might be seeing it at other, at their friends' phones. So, I think that it's the idea of thinking, oh, it's not going to happen to my son or my daughter. I spoke also with many parents that have daughters and they were like, only boys watch pornography, and that's not true because the exposure, it's true that more boys watch pornography than girls, but also the exposure of girls has been increased along the time, throughout the time. And we just need to be aware that pornography is not like a one-time, like an hour and a half movie. It's really, short videos, really focusing on the act itself, and very accessible to children. And, and today the average age of first-time exposure to pornography is 11. And they're saying that, the more we are online, the exposure is gonna, the age of exposure is gonna go down. And it's not that the children are looking for it. Usually the first time is not intentional. So we have to understand that it's not that, our children are looking for pornography or they're looking for sex. No, but it's just out there. and it's very, it's accessible. There is a desire of free porn companies to start, to have that exposure. So, we're like fighting through like major companies that they have an interest that our children will get exposed to. Our job, and I think that it's, I have a good friend that he's hacker and he's genius on technology. And I asked him, tell me, is there any technology solution that we can really prevent porn exposure for anyone below the age of 18, right? Because it's illegal. It's actually illegal for teenagers or anyone to watch pornography below the age of 18. And he said, technology, there is no solution. No. So if we're looking for a technology solution, then we're not focusing on the right thing. And the right thing is actually to look on communication.
So just to kind of offer some kind of backup on that is, first of all, we know as parents, there are actually apps that look like they are something else than they really are. So we know that the generations are ahead of us on that kind of stuff. Secondly, I actually was told by another expert that every single computer has pornography on it, whether you're purposely viewing it or you're not, every computer. And his point was, if you're a federal investigator and you're going in to see if there's a problem with pornography, child pornography, or anything else, the number one way they know that your computer's been scrubbed is there's none. So it goes to your point, is that not only can we not figure out how to get an app to do it because we have all these hidden apps, literally every computer is saturated with it. It just depends on whether or not our kids run into it at an earlier age than we think they do. So that's just to kind of back you up on that.
Yes. And I really think that, if we understand that, right, that it's not about prevention, it's really about communication. It allows us to then think, okay, what is important for me, knowing that there is like a higher chance for my child to get exposed to porn. What are the messages that are important for me to share with them so that they will not think that what they're watching, that's how their real sex life should look like.
Right. And so the whole idea that every child, every parent needs to know this is, could you share with us what you think the best tactic would be for a parent to do that, to effectively say, our goal is not that you're never going to hear about or see about these things. We can't put blinders on you. How will you share with kids, this is the way that you can look at it, approach it, and hopefully for most of them that aren't ready for it, know how to avoid it themselves.
Right. So I think that, for my answer, I just want to point out that this is true for children that age 13 and above, right? Because I think that below the age of 13, they should not be watching pornography. We should not acknowledge that it's normal for them to watch pornography. We should definitely say, if you suddenly are watching pornography, maybe you see images or videos of people that are naked and having sex, then it's not for you. You should turn off the device. You should walk away. You should tell a trusted teacher, or you should come to me. I will just for me to take care of you. But the answer I'm going to give you now is for knowing that your child is ages 13 and above. Mm-hmm. And my number one tip for parents when they start the conversation is, first of all, to acknowledge that this is awkward, right? This is, we are not used to it. Probably our parents did not talk to us about pornography. And this is awkward, like talking about pornography. So just like knowing for us that it's awkward, and also we can acknowledge that with our son or daughter. So you know what? I'm going to talk about pornography, and I know it's an awkward conversation. And then don't talk about them. Don't ask them, have you watched pornography, or when you're going to watch pornography, because then it's like, whoa, it puts the child in like a defensive mode, talking in general. Say, you know what? I know that usually during adolescence, children get exposed to pornography and they might see images or videos of people having sex. So you don't stay on that. And then you can say, I want you to know that you can always ask me questions if you hear anything or if you see it, right? So you don't point it to them. And then, think about like one message that you want to share with them, and I just want you to know that when people watching pornography, they need to understand that it's not how like real sex should look like, right? So it's something like that. So you don't make it on them, right? You just make it general. And that allows like a very like trusted or like a safe space to explore more, because then you can say, well, do you have any questions about pornography? You know, anything that you want to know more about? Because then we show them that we are open to have the conversation, and also we are not blaming them for watching porn, or we're not making assumptions. We're really giving them the space to decide what they want to share with us and what they don't, and letting them know that we can handle anything they want to talk about under this space.
I really like what you say there about the idea, what they're seeing, to be able to give them the tools to separate that from what is. And I'm sure you and I have done a lot of research on the things that can happen when kids get confused about that. And so if you can kind of keep it in an educational zone that you know, and I'll just share a personal anecdote. I remember my children were right on the cusp of when we even got internet in our home. That's been a while, I realized. So, you know, up until streaming porn, this was a very different conversation. This is not your grandfather and a Playboy, right? So this is a very different kind of sexual experience for the viewer. And I remember, for some reason, I knew someone that they went to Thanksgiving dinner, and this is not a moral, like we both have different probably ideas of where sex fits into life and our moral perspective of porn. So this is not even getting into that. That's not what we're talking about. But I remember somebody told me they had eaten a whole box of Twinkies before Thanksgiving. And one of the things that I remember thinking as a parent was, to me, that's pornography at a young age, is you have this beautiful feast ahead of you, this beautiful day, and you fill it with junk food that has nothing to do with the actual beauty of the feast of Thanksgiving. And to me, that was something that even kids could understand, is you're going to ruin your appetite and it's not going to be worth it. And I think that is kind of a practical way too, that you can bring to your kids to say, okay, so pornography is going to be, you're going to hear about it. Likely you're going to see it. I love how you say you don't go into it for the jugular. Have you seen it? Do you want to see it? You know, it's not going to help you. And then kind of giving them the tools to feel like they're empowered. They're empowered then. That's beautiful.
Right. And just also to add, I think that, you know, even though we probably wish they would not watch pornography, right? Coming from a place of like, you know, I don't want you to watch it. I think it's going to be bad for you. I think, you know, then we actually then might create bad feelings or guilt and shame for them if they are going to expose, and you know, if they are going to enjoy what they're going to watch. And we know pornography was created to increase the arousal, right? So if we're sending like bad or like negative messages for just like the act of watching pornography, then we actually might create those like bad or negative thoughts for them. There will be like guilt. Why I enjoy watching something that my parents told me not to watch? It might increase the chances for them not to come and ask for questions, or they might not share with us situation because now they think that maybe something's wrong with them, right? They're enjoying something that someone else told them it's bad. And then it becomes secretive, and they hiding, and this is like shame and guilt. I think that if we don't, you know, so this is my approach, is not saying don't watch pornography. It's really about, you know, we can share about why we think that pornography is not like the right venue to look for fantasies. Maybe we can share that. Right. But don't, you know, I want to offer like, don't have that, like this pornography is bad or wrong for you to watch it. If you do watch it, like shame around that for them, that might not serve them.
Kind of interesting, Michal, because I probably differ a little there. We probably do diverge a little bit, because I agree with you. I agree fully that we need to acknowledge that it's a healthy interest. We need to acknowledge that the act of intimacy is a beautiful thing. I think we need to acknowledge you don't have the right as a parent or anybody else to look at other families and say, this is what's right for them. So no judgment. But I do think that there are enough things scientifically that I would feel about that the same way I would feel about drug use, is that let's just say, let's take a legal drug. Let's take alcohol. I would probably say, I think because of some of these things that happen with alcohol, at younger ages, I would want you to avoid that. Now, knowing that, that doesn't mean that I know that you may not still partake in that. And I want you to know, no judgment here. But if you do that and you drive home, I would much rather have you call me, and I promise you, it's a no consequence call, right? And I think it's the same thing for me with pornography. Is I can look at the science and say, I don't think there's really much good there for you. But at the same time, if you get yourself, which we know there's some kids that get into pretty serious problems, both mentally and physically with pornography, especially with aggressive use. If you get into that problem, I'm going to give you a no pass because I'm going to help you and I'm going to get the help you need. I think you see what I mean? So it's kind of, we're maybe slightly different, but the same idea, which is we want it to be open. We want them to know we're not judging them. We love them. But as a parent, our best guess is to tell them, do what we think is the healthiest for you. And I think that's okay to do too. I think they're both.
Yeah, yes, and I agree with you. And I think that one thing that is very important for me is to tell parents that they need to, their messages needs to come from their own values and their own belief. It's not about my values. It's not about my belief. For me, it's, as you shared, it's really about the communication, the no judgment, and also providing alternatives, right? Because if you just say, don't watch pornography, it's bad for you, then, and we're not even actually maybe giving alternatives, then, you know, they might be like, but, you know, it's working for me, or I enjoy watching it and I don't have anything similar to that, then like, what am I supposed to do? Also, I just want to add that if you decide, like, I think that when you say, don't watch pornography, it's bad for you, the same as we do, by the way, with drugs or alcohol or smoking, we also explain why, right? So explain why you don't want them to be exposed to pornography. Why, you know, what's missing, what might happen, you know, why you're worried for them, because then it just makes it, you know, that's like the open conversation that it's okay to talk about it. It's not secret, it's not hidden. And I think that when you do that, there's a higher chance to get the call if something, you know, goes out, then they feel that you have higher chances for them to feel trusted to come to you and share if they have a problem.
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, I'll put down below, I've written a couple articles that are just the science of it. And the article that we talked about from the New York Times that you gave me, her numbers were slightly different. So I think that there's kind of a little bit of room. She basically said that 35% of what is depicted as intimacy is actually aggression or actually violence. And so you're looking at that as a parent going, that means out of every time that they get on there, they're shooting about a little over 1 out of 3. They're going to see things that could create a big problem for them, the way they're developing their ideas of sex. So some of the science, I think, if we're going to be a culture that says science matters, we got to stop running away from the science when it comes to pornography. And same thing with alcohol, like you said. And so the nice thing about this is there's some really great reasons to give your kids that they actually say that the partner, the young woman that they're having sex with, the young man that they're having sex with, feels worse about themselves on average, you know, that they actually feel not as good about both their intimacy and their whole lives, like their whole attractiveness, their whole happiness goes down. The actual healthy response to sex between actual humans goes down. So these kinds of things are things that's not our parent job to be killjoy, like don't enjoy sex, don't think this is great. No, it's the opposite. We're saying we want you to enjoy this. We want this to be a beautiful thing when you feel it's right, when it's something that agrees with, like you said, the way you view the world. But doggone it, don't let this steal that from you. Does that kind of, you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. And I think that, you know, I've been doing a big research in the past month. And one of the things that I think we should also be aware of that, like the media itself creates assumptions about, you know, how our bodies should look like, how we, you know, dress. And then it's like pornography just, you know, put the final stamp on how sex should look like. And I think that what we need also to understand is that as a culture, we talk about everything, or like we can see everything. The only thing we don't talk a lot, you know, or we cannot even like role model in our house is how to have like healthy sex, right? Because this is something that we all do in a closed doors, behind closed doors. And then they have this world that suddenly opened to them that really shows them something that no one else shows them. No one else talks about it. And it's interesting, right? It's like, it's interesting. So I think that if we acknowledge the fact that it's very human also for them to be curious, to look, at it. And if we acknowledge the fact that they already live in a world that has a lot of assumptions or building expectations about how they're going to look like, how they're going to, dress, and like what's like a normative body image, right? There's a lot of stereotype and normative being built through social media today. Then like porn, like literally just create the for them it's just normal to learn from online, right? So for them, they really think that, hey, maybe that's it, because no one else talks about it. And I don't see that, I don't know what's happening in my parents' bedroom. So it might be that, right? And actually having that conversation and making it normal of just talking about that or explaining about it, then it allows them to really be like, okay, this is a movie, right? And the same as I'm watching Marvel and I know that Iron Man doesn't really exist or Spider-Man doesn't really exist, but I still enjoy watching it maybe, then, okay, I'm watching pornography, I get it, right? Or maybe I'll choose not to watch it, but I get it that it doesn't replicate how my sex life should look like, how my body image should look like, how I should sound, how I should act. It's just a movie.
Right. And to make sure that we really, and we probably won't be able to cover it on this video, but I'd like to do some more, is I really think we need to get into what that means when it comes to consent and protection of each other. And we probably won't have time to go into that today, but I do agree with you. We need to shatter the stigma, because secrecy is always the cover of things that draw us. And we need to bring intimacy out of that stigma and make it something that is beautiful. It's a goal. It's something that we want. And we want our kids to want that in a healthy way that's timed in a way that can be good for them. And I think we just need to shatter that whole secrecy piece of it, which doesn't mean that we need to show them what we're doing. And there are people that would think we do, and I'm not going to sign up for that. But I think that when it comes right down to it, I so agree with you, is that we need to shatter a lot in this area, and it will protect a lot of hearts. But that's probably all we could cover for today's video. But let's make sure we come back and revisit this idea of preparing them, not only that it's not real, but that actually, like you said, it could actually be something that sets up expectations of receiving and giving pain that are not healthy, and probably on more videos than we want to see and admit. So I thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and I look forward to hopefully covering some more of these topics in the future.
Thank you so much, Kim. It was a pleasure to be here, and I would love to come again.
That would be wonderful. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you for taking the time to be here on Worth the War. It means a lot. Take care.